Captain Vrill's four-fingered hand trembled as he reached for the emergency transmitter. His crew deserved a chance to say goodbye to their families, even if only through a final recorded message. Before he could activate it, his first officer Mila burst onto the bridge, her spotted skin flushed with exertion. "Captain, it's changing course," she exclaimed, rushing to the sensor station. Vril watched in disbelief as the massive dreadnought pivoted with impossible grace, its main weapon ports powering down as it veered away from the Dawn Trader toward a distant nebula. For the first time in known history, the Annihilator had approached a vessel and then left it unarmed. "Record everything," Vril ordered, his voice steadier than his heart's. "The Confederation won't believe this without evidence." As the crew scrambled to document the unprecedented event, Vril studied the retreating silhouette of the legendary warship. Something had changed. For 3 centuries, the Annihilator had never deviated from its pattern: appear, destroy, disappear. Now it had broken that pattern, and in Vril's experience, pattern changes meant significant developments were underway. "Sir, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the nebula," reported the sensor officer, his eye stalks swiveling toward the view screen. "Something's happening there." Vril made a decision that would later be studied in every military academy across the Confederation. Plot and intercept course. Maintain safe distance, but follow it. Mila stared at him in horror. "Captain, with all respect, that's suicide." "Perhaps," Vril acknowledged, settling back into his command chair. "But we've just witnessed the impossible. I want to know why." The Dawn Trader adjusted course, keeping the Annihilator at extreme sensor range as it approached the nebula's swirling gases. As they drew closer, the sensors revealed what had attracted the dreaded warship, a small vessel of unfamiliar design, barely 20 meters in length, navigating the nebula's currents with remarkable precision. "Magnify," Vril ordered. The view screen zoomed in on the unknown ship. Unlike the sleek Confederation vessels or the angular designs favored by the border worlds, this craft had a utilitarian appearance, clearly built for function rather than aesthetics, and on its hull, a symbol none of them recognized: a blue field with white geometric patterns. "Run that marking through the database," Vril instructed. Moments later, Mila looked up from her console, eyes wide. "Sir, it's from Earth. That's a human vessel." A collective hush fell over the bridge. Humans were newcomers to interstellar travel, barely established beyond their home system. What was one of their ships doing this far into Confederation space? And more importantly, why wasn't the Annihilator destroying it? As they watched, the human vessel transmitted something toward the dreadnought. Not weapons fire, but a data package. The Annihilator responded not with destruction, but with its own transmission. "They're communicating," whispered Mila in disbelief. Vril's decision was immediate. Send an encrypted burst transmission to Confederation Command. Priority Alpha. The humans have made contact with the Annihilator. He paused, watching as the dreaded warship and the tiny Earth vessel moved in tandem toward a nearby jump point. "And may the Ancient Ones help us all if they've aligned with it." The data from Captain Vril's transmission played across the council chamber, showing the Annihilator and the human vessel moving in formation. Raised voices competed for attention as representatives from each species demanded immediate action. "This confirms our worst fears," declared Kraz, pounding his scaled fist against the polished table. "These humans have somehow gained control of the deadliest weapon in the galaxy." Admiral Zex Terra raised all 4 arms for silence. "We have no evidence of that. The transmission shows communication, nothing more." "What else could it be?" challenged Ambassador Norm of the Ferillian Conclave, her crystalline form refracting light across the chamber. "In 3 centuries, the Annihilator has never shown anything but hostility. Suddenly humans appear, and it follows their lead. The conclusion is obvious." Zex Terra activated a secondary display showing Earth's limited interstellar presence, a handful of outposts, 3 small colonies, and a modest defense fleet. You suggest that a species barely capable of maintaining stable wormholes has somehow subdued a force that our combined fleets couldn't stop. Perhaps that's precisely why they succeeded where we failed, offered Science Director Leartal, her feathered crest lifting with interest. Their approach would be entirely different from ours, unconstrained by established tactical doctrines. The council chamber fell silent as the implications settled over them. Zex Terra seized the moment. I have studied humanity extensively since their first contact, she continued, gesturing to a series of anthropological reports. They possess unusual contradictions. They develop medical technology to save lives, then create weapons that could extinguish their own species. They form deep emotional attachments to complete strangers yet wage war against their own kind. They simultaneously fear the unknown and are irresistibly drawn to it. You make them sound unstable, observed High Commander Frex. Perhaps that's their strength, countered Zex Terra. Where we see only the established path, they see infinite possibilities. Where we calculate odds and avoid unfavorable outcomes, they gamble everything on slim chances. Our methodical, predictable approaches have failed against the Annihilator for 3 centuries precisely because we are predictable. A holographic display shifted to show the original recordings of first contact with humanity. A modest spacecraft meeting the Confederation exploratory vessel at the edge of their solar system. The human captain had exited their airlock unarmed, wearing only a thin environmental suit, arms spread wide in a gesture of openness. No other species had ever initiated first contact with such vulnerable trust. I propose a dual approach, Zex Terra stated firmly. First, we assemble a strike fleet to monitor the situation. If these humans have indeed aligned with the Annihilator, we must be prepared to act decisively. She paused, letting the Council's approval for this cautious measure build before continuing. But simultaneously, we send an envoy to Earth with a diplomatic proposition. If they haven't yet allied with our enemy, we offer them the opportunity to help us. Help us how? Asked Kraz suspiciously. Zex Terra's outer eyes blinked slowly, a sign of deep contemplation in her species. By doing what they apparently just demonstrated is possible, establishing communication with the Annihilator. And if they've already done so, we learn how and leverage that knowledge. And if they refuse, pressed Ambassador Norm. The Admiral's voice dropped to a cold certainty that sent ripples of unease through the chamber. Then we will know their true intentions and act accordingly. Captain Chen studied the data crystal's contents projected above the briefing room table. The holographic display showed hundreds of encounters with the Annihilator, each ending in destruction. She paused the replay on an image of the massive dreadnought, its obsidian hull absorbing light like a cosmic predator. This doesn't make sense, she said finally. There's no pattern to the attacks. No strategic value to many of the targets. Dr. Washington nodded in agreement, her dark eyes reflecting the blue glow of the hologram. It's not behaving like a military vessel following tactical protocols. If anything, it reminds me of a defensive reaction, finished Lieutenant Commander Jackson, leaning forward, like an immune response. Admiral Zex Terra's translator hummed as she processed this unexpected observation. Explain, she commanded. Jackson gestured to the flight patterns displayed in the data. Look at the approach vectors. The Annihilator doesn't hunt, it responds. It appears when vessels enter certain regions or approach specific coordinates. It's protecting something. The alien delegation exchanged glances, their body language conveying confusion and surprise even across species barriers. We had not considered this interpretation, admitted Zex Terra slowly. Our analysts have always classified its behavior as aggressive, not defensive. Chen stood, walking to the viewport where Earth hung like a blue jewel against the black velvet of space. Admiral, you mentioned we see patterns where you see chaos. This might be exactly what you meant. She turned to face the towering alien. Your people have been studying this vessel for centuries as an enemy. What if it's not? Sub-Commander Frex shuddered skeptically. It has destroyed thousands of our ships. Millions of lives lost. What else would you call it? Misunderstood, offered Dr. Washington quietly. The xenopsychologist adjusted her glasses, a nervous habit when all attention turned to her. In human history, we've often mistaken defensive behavior for aggression. Indigenous peoples defending their lands from colonizers. Animals protecting their young from perceived threats. Engineer Patel, who had been silently reviewing the technical specifications of the dreadnought, looked up suddenly. "The power signatures are all wrong for a weapon of war," he observed. "These energy fluctuations, they're more consistent with a research vessel or deep space explorer than a military craft." "A research vessel that has killed millions," scoffed Vrex. "Perhaps one with damaged systems," countered Patel, "or operating under corrupted protocols. The Annihilator is ancient by your own records, at least 3 millennia old. What happens to your computer systems after even 100 years without maintenance?" Chen turned back to the alien delegation, her decision made. "We'll help you, Admiral, but not by trying to capture or destroy this vessel. We're going to attempt communication first, operating under the assumption that there's intelligence, artificial or otherwise, directing its actions." Zexterra's outer eyes blinked in their slow, deliberate pattern. "This approach has been attempted before. The results were catastrophic." "With respect," Chen replied, "you tried to communicate while simultaneously preparing to attack. We'll try a different approach." She nodded to her executive officer, who brought up Earth's historical first contact protocols on a secondary display. Complete transparency. No weapons charge. Open channel broadcasting on all frequencies with mathematical sequences established as peaceful indicators. "And if it attacks despite these measures?" asked Zexterra. Chen's smile held no humor. "Then we'll have learned something important too. But something tells me that won't happen." "What makes you so certain?" pressed Vrex. The captain's gaze shifted to the frozen image of the Annihilator *. "Because according to your own intelligence, it's already broken pattern once with a human vessel. That wasn't coincidence. It was connection." Engineer Patel guided the final drone into position, his hands dancing across the holographic interface as he fine-tuned its sensor array. Around him, the Confederation technicians watched with a mixture of fascination and skepticism. "Your deployment pattern makes no mathematical sense," observed lead technician Drav, his crystalline exoskeleton clicking as he tilted his head. "The coverage gaps are significant." Patel grinned, not looking up from his work. "They're not gaps. They're pathways." "Pathways," echoed Drav. "We're not trying to trap the Annihilator," explained Lieutenant Commander Jackson, joining them at the console. "We're trying to guide it. The drones are positioned to create a channel of least resistance, leading directly to our position." The alien technicians exchanged alarmed glances. One of them activated a communication link to Sub-Commander Vrex, who arrived moments later with a security detail. "You are intentionally creating a direct route for the deadliest warship in the galaxy to reach your vessel," Vrex demanded, mandibles flaring with agitation. "This violates all safety protocols established for this mission." Captain Chen entered the control room, Dr. Washington at her side. "The protocols were established based on your methodologies, Commander. As we discussed with Admiral Zexterra, we're implementing human approaches. By committing suicide," Vrex's translator couldn't fully convey the mixture of incredulity and alarm in his natural voice. Dr. Washington stepped forward, her calm presence a counterpoint to the alien's agitation. "In human psychology, trust begins with vulnerability. By positioning ourselves openly, without obvious defenses or escape routes, we signal our peaceful intentions more effectively than any transmission could." "The Annihilator isn't human," objected Vrex. "Projecting your psychological patterns onto it is irrational." "Perhaps," Chen acknowledged. "But intelligence, whether organic or artificial, tends to recognize patterns. For 3 centuries, every encounter with your ships has followed the same pattern. Detection, defensive posturing, weapons charging, and then combat. We're breaking that pattern completely. Patil activated the main display, showing the completed drone network extending through a region of space the Confederation forces had designated as high probability for the Annihilator's next appearance. The drones will transmit mathematical sequences, prime numbers, the universal constants, basic recognition patterns, no encryption, no hidden messages. And if it responds? Asked Drav, genuinely curious despite his skepticism. Then we escalate to more complex communications, replied Chen. Binary visual symbols, eventually language packets based on the ancient dialects in your database. And if it attacks? Pressed Frex. Chen's expression remained steady. Then we learn it truly is what you believe, a weapon beyond reasoning. And your original assessment was correct. The captain turned to her team. Final equipment check. We launch in 30 minutes. As the human crew dispersed to their stations, Vrex approached Chen privately. Your confidence borders on arrogance, Captain, he said, lowering his voice. Many commanders before you believed they had found the solution to the Annihilator. None lived to acknowledge their mistake. Chen studied the alien officer. You've fought this enemy for centuries, Commander. You've tried everything within your strategic framework. But sometimes the solution lies completely outside that framework. And what makes humans qualified to find this solution? Asked Frex, curiosity tempering his skepticism. Chen's answer was simple. Because throughout our history, humans have been both the destroyer and the diplomat. We understand both impulses intimately, and we recognize that even the most deadly force might simply be waiting for someone to listen instead of attack. The bridge of the curiosity hummed with tense energy as the massive form of the Annihilator continued its slow orbit around them. 6 hours had passed since first detection, and the legendary dreadnought had neither attacked nor retreated. Energy fluctuations changing again, reported Lieutenant Santos from the sensor station. Pattern shift in progress. Dr. Washington studied the readings, her eyes darting between multiple displays. It's responding to our mathematical sequences, but not with the same patterns. It's elaborating on them. Chen leaned forward in her command chair. Meaning? It's like a conversation, Washington explained, excitement building in her voice. We sent prime numbers. It returned prime number pairs that summed to perfect squares. We sent Fibonacci sequences. It returned Lucas numbers. Engineer Patel joined them at the main console, eyes wide with realization. It's not just responding. It's demonstrating comprehension and extending the principles. That's not a weapons system. That's intelligence. The view screen showed the massive ship, its obsidian hull reflecting nothing, absorbing all light. Yet within those patterns of energy fluctuations rippling across its surface, something was reaching out. Captain, called Santos suddenly, I'm detecting movement. The outer hull sections are reconfiguring. All eyes turned to the screen as sections of the Annihilator's hull shifted, plates sliding with fluid grace to reveal what appeared to be a docking mechanism. A universal configuration that hadn't been used in Confederation space for millennia. It's inviting us aboard, whispered Chen. The ship-wide communication system activated, and Admiral Zextera's voice filled the bridge. Captain Chen, our sensors confirm the Annihilator has exposed what appears to be a docking port. Under no circumstances are you authorized to attempt boarding. The risk is unacceptable. Chen exchanged glances with her officers. With respect, Admiral, this is the breakthrough we've been working toward. The vessel is communicating. Communication can continue remotely, insisted Zextera. Your mission parameters do not include physical contact. Washington muted the channel momentarily. Captain, the pattern of interaction suggests trust-building behavior. If we refuse this invitation, we might lose the connection entirely. Agreed, said Chen, reactivating the communication link. Admiral, I'm sending a modified probe to the docking port. It will transmit visual and sensor data, but won't fully engage the mechanism. A reasonable compromise, conceded the admiral. Patel hurried to modify one of their scanner drones, adding visual recording equipment and a simple mechanical interface. Within 20 minutes, the small device approached the Annihilator's exposed docking port. As the probe neared the ancient vessel, the energy patterns across the hull intensified, forming what appeared to be directional indicators guiding the device to the correct position. "It's helping the probe dock," observed Jackson with wonder. "This isn't just intelligence, it's cooperation." The probe's cameras activated as it passed through the docking port's outer threshold. The images transmitted back to the Curiosity caused a collective gasp across the bridge. Instead of weapons systems or military infrastructure, the interior revealed vast data storage arrays. Crystalline structures lined the walls, glowing with stored information. Maintenance drones, designed with the elegant efficiency of a long-lost civilization, moved purposefully through corridors clearly designed for beings much different from humans or any known Confederation species. "It's a library," breathed Washington, awe evident in her voice. "The deadliest warship in the galaxy is a library." Chen turned to her communication officer. "Open a direct channel to the Annihilator. I think it's time we properly introduced ourselves." The communication console lit up with symbols unlike any language in the Confederation database. Captain Chen watched as Dr. Washington and the ship's linguistics eye worked to decipher the message streaming across the screen. The Annihilator, or whatever it truly was, had responded to their direct transmission instantly. "Progress?" Chen asked, maintaining her calm demeanor despite the momentous nature of this exchange. Washington nodded, not looking up from her work. "It's building a translation matrix based on our mathematical exchanges. The underlying structure suggests a highly efficient language. Minimal redundancy, maximum information density." She paused, eyes widening. "Wait, this pattern. It's incorporating elements from our first transmission. It's learning our language." Admiral Zexterra and a team of Confederation linguists had joined the video feed, their various appendages and sensory organs fixated on the data stream. "Impossible," chittered one of the alien specialists. "Language acquisition requires thousands of examples to establish contextual meaning." "Not for a sufficiently advanced eye," countered Patel. "With the right neural architecture, language can be inferred from minimal examples if the underlying principles are understood." A new symbol set appeared on screen, more organized than before. The ship's computer began translating. Query: purpose of builders. Query: time since departure. Chen glanced at Washington, who nodded in confirmation. "It's asking about its creators," the synapsychologist explained. "And how long they've been gone." The captain straightened her uniform, a human gesture of preparation before a significant moment. "Respond. We are not your builders. We represent different species seeking knowledge about your origins and purpose. Your builders are unknown to us. Based on our historical records, you have been operating independently for at least 3 millennia." The response came faster this time. Assessment: memory corruption. Temporal tracking error. Mission parameters compromised. Primary directive: preserve knowledge. Secondary directive: protect archive from hostile entities. Lieutenant Commander Jackson leaned forward. "It doesn't know how long it's been active, and it classifies approaching vessels as threats to whatever knowledge it's preserving." "Ask it why it attacks," urged Zexterra through the communication link. Chen nodded to the communications officer. Query: can you clarify hostile entities? Why have you destroyed approaching vessels? The pause was longer this time, as if the ancient intelligence were searching its own systems. Finally, clarification. Pattern recognition protocols identified weapons configurations as threat to archive integrity. Defensive protocols activated to preserve primary directive. Error: no peaceful contact protocols found. Error: communication subroutines degraded. Error: builder oversight absent for. Calculation impossible. Washington's expression softened with compassion. "It's been operating on corrupted programming for millennia, Captain. It believes it's fulfilling its primary directive by protecting the knowledge it contains, but its ability to distinguish between actual threats and peaceful approaches has degraded. Like an immune system that begins attacking the body it's meant to protect, murmured Chen. Patel studied the ship's schematics they'd been able to compile from the probe's data. The data storage systems are remarkably intact, but the control systems show significant degradation patterns. It's been trying to repair itself without guidance, making patchwork fixes that have altered its original programming. Chen turned to address the Confederation observers directly. Admiral, we believe the Annihilator is an autonomous archive vessel from an advanced civilization. Its primary purpose is preserving knowledge, not warfare. Its attacks have been defensive responses based on corrupted threat assessment protocols. Can it be fixed? Asked Zextera, the concept clearly foreign to her understanding of the dreadnought. Chen looked back at the massive ship visible through the view screen. We believe so. With your permission, I'd like to assemble a team to board the vessel and assist with repairing its primary systems. You wish to board the Annihilator? The Admiral's translator conveyed her disbelief perfectly. The ship that has destroyed thousands of our vessels. Chen's response was simple. We're not boarding a warship, Admiral. We're visiting a library that's been waiting a very long time for someone to help it remember what it truly is. Engineering teams worked around the clock, establishing a secure interface between human technology and the ancient systems of the vessel now designated Preservator. Patel led the main contingent, his fingers dancing across adaptive interfaces as they carefully navigated the ship's complex architecture. These neural pathways are like nothing I've ever seen, he commented to Dr. Washington, who monitored the ship's responses to their adjustments. It's not just a database, it's a living memory system. The knowledge isn't just stored, it's integrated. A holographic display flickered above their workstation, showing the ship's self-diagnostic routines running in real time. The corrupted sections glowed angry red against the cool blue of functioning systems. Look at this, Washington pointed to a particular cluster of errors. The threat assessment protocols became entangled with the preservation directives after some kind of traumatic event, probably the supernova that killed its creators. It began interpreting any approach as a potential threat to the knowledge it was programmed to protect. Captain Chen entered the vast central chamber they designated as their command center, followed by an unexpected visitor, Elder Counselor Kraz himself. The ancient alien moved slowly, his scaled skin reflecting the ship's ambient lighting as he took in the wonders around him. 3 centuries, he murmured. 3 centuries of treating this vessel as our greatest enemy. His translator conveyed the complex emotions in his natural voice, regret, wonder, and a quiet grief. How many lives might have been spared had we approached it differently? Chen tactfully avoided the implied criticism of the Confederation's military strategy. The past cannot be changed, Counselor, but the future is still unwritten. She guided him to the main display where Lieutenant Santos was cataloging some of the vessel's contents. These star charts alone represent regions of space the Confederation has never explored. The medical knowledge could extend lifespans across all your member species. The cultural archives preserve the entire history of a civilization advanced enough to build a ship that has survived intact for millennia. Kraz's eyes, ancient and wise, studied the human captain. You humans are puzzling creatures. You boarded an enemy vessel with minimal protection. You work with systems that could delete your existence with a power surge. Yet you show no fear. We feel fear, Chen corrected gently. We simply don't let it dictate our actions. A sudden alert chimed from Patel's workstation. Captain, we've got a problem. Chen and Kraz hurried over as the engineer pointed to a cascade of errors spreading through the ship's systems. The repair protocols we initiated are hitting a barrier. There's a core memory segment that needs direct authorization to access, some kind of failsafe the builders implemented. Can we bypass it? Asked Chen. Washington shook her head. Not safely. It's too deeply integrated. Forcing access could trigger a complete system purge. The ship's communication system activated, rendering its message in the simplified language they'd established. Critical systems require builder authorization. Error. No authorized builders present. Alternative. Establish new authorized entity. It's offering to accept new authority. Translated Washington, her voice filled with wonder. It's asking us to become its new caretakers. Chen looked at Counselor Kraz, understanding the political implications immediately. This should be a Confederation decision, sir. The knowledge contained here belongs to all species. The ancient counselor's response surprised everyone. This vessel chose to communicate with humans, Captain Chen, not with us, despite centuries of opportunity. Perhaps the builder's wisdom extends beyond their deaths. He gestured toward the waiting interface. I believe your species has earned this honor. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Confederation Capital World fell silent as Captain Chen approached the podium. 3 months had passed since the Preservator had entered orbit, its gleaming hull now restored to its original pearlescent state. Representatives from all 17 member species watched intently, their varied physiologies conveying the universal sense of anticipation. Honored representatives, Chen began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. Today marks the beginning of a new era for all our peoples. The integration of the Preservator's knowledge database with Confederation systems is now 20% complete. Holographic displays activated around the hall, showing the progress of various collaborative projects. Medical researchers from 7 species working with previously unknown treatment methodologies. Engineering teams adapting propulsion technologies that would reduce travel times between distant colonies by 60%. Historical archivists preserving cultural records of the precursors, the long-vanished builders whose legacy had nearly been destroyed through centuries of misunderstanding. None of this would have been possible, Chen continued, without cooperation across species barriers. Human ingenuity combined with Confederation resources has accomplished in months what might have taken decades working separately. Admiral Zexterra rose from her seat, her 4 arms extended in the formal gesture of official recognition. The Confederation acknowledges humanity's contribution not merely to our scientific advancement, but to our understanding of conflict resolution. You have taught us to question our assumptions, particularly about entities we perceive as threats. From the back of the chamber, an unexpected voice joined the conversation. Captain Vrel of the Dawn Trader stepped forward, his once trembling hands now steady with newfound confidence. 3 months ago, I believed my crew and I would die at the hands of the Annihilator, he stated. Today, my vessel operates with navigation systems developed from the Preservator's archives, allowing us to chart safer routes through contested space. My first officer's child received treatment for a previously incurable condition using medical knowledge recovered from its database. He turned to address Captain Chen directly. Where we saw only a weapon, you recognized a wounded entity seeking connection. Where we responded with fear, you offered understanding. The humans have taught us that sometimes the greatest threat can become our greatest ally when approached with wisdom rather than weapons. Chen nodded in acknowledgement, then gestured to the engineering team standing nearby. The true achievement belongs to those who did the actual work. Engineer Patel and his team have spent countless hours adapting our systems to interface with the ancient technology. Dr. Washington has facilitated communication between our cultures and the remnants of the precursor programming. Patel stepped forward, displaying a small crystalline device that glittered with internal light. This contains the first complete translation of the precursor ethical guidelines for artificial intelligence development. Their civilization achieved symbiosis between organic and synthetic life, forms millions of years before our species existed. They left us not just technology, but wisdom about how to use it responsibly. High Elder Kraz, his age-modeled scales gleaming in the ceremonial lighting, approached the human delegation. In his clawed hands, he carried an ornate box of obvious significance. The council has voted unanimously, he announced, his translator conveying the gravity in his voice. Earth is hereby offered full membership in the Galactic Confederation, with all rights and responsibilities thereof. He opened the box, revealing a crystalline emblem inlaid with the modified Confederation symbol, now incorporating Earth's distinctive continents. "Your flag flies not just on the preservator," Kraz concluded, "but in the hearts and minds of all our peoples. Where once we shuddered at the approach of a warship, we now look to the stars with renewed hope, because humans taught us to see beyond our fear to the possibilities that lie beyond."